That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It is Commissioner Cooper, and it is week 3 of your fantasy leagues. You're feeling 3 different ways. You're super excited at 2-0, feeling okay at 1-1, or you're in straight panic at 0-3. But don't worry, we got you covered tonight. Brian Scott from the Injured List podcast is here to give over the barrage of injuries that we have in the NFL. Justin and I will give a great breakdown for this week for all your NFL games. And of course, we got our fantasy friends in the house. We got some sophisticated starts from Mr. Mallard. And of course, we end the show with DJ Chuck Bass playing your fantasy hits. It's Friday night. I know it's been a long week. Not time for Netflix and chill yet. It's time for TSS Fantasy.
Yeah! Here we go!
It's time for TSS Fantasy.
It is Commissioner Cooper.
I could do a whole 49ers show right now.
Ready to rock out with my gavel out.
Oh yeah, baby!
Don't sleep on my Patriots, you know.
We're ready for football.
Joe Burrow with this wrist, I'm curious.
I find you guilty of all charges. And although you
Assistant force in this
He's developed some really great
DJ Chuck Bass.
This guy has been doing it ever since coming off.
I hope you like the way I pimped
He's
you out.
4 targets in all 3 of the classes.
Scored a touchdown this year.
You know, the great thing about being a football player is you don't have to take a shower to go to work.
There it is.
All right. Well, lucky for us indeed. I'm feeling kind of stanky. What's up, my friends? Welcome in. Do us a solid. If you're watching on YouTube, hit subscribe, hit like, hit a comment. Of course, ask your fantasy questions. Little things stopping you from doing it. Big things popping for us when you do. Let me welcome my co-host into the building. Welcome in Justin Jesus Herrera.
This whole new setup is kind of cool. It kind of feels like we're doing the intro to the Brady Bunch. Like everybody gets their little side window and everything. But you know what? The one thing you forgot was hit that notification bell because you're going to want to be back here on Sunday with us because we bring the energy to Sunday mornings. We don't just sit here and tell you to start sits. We sit here and we joke and we make fun of Fred. And we make fun of most of this, Fred.
That's the best part of the show.
But I'm excited. I'm stoked. I can't wait to get this thing going. I've been wanting to talk football for a week because last time I talked football, I was drunk and it really didn't come through too well.
Well, you came across fine, my friend. You came across fine. All right, let's pay the bills, of course. Let's pay the bills, of course. If you're going to play some fun DFS this weekend, go to Underdog Fantasy. Use the promo code TSS. We'll double that deposit up to $100 and lots of fun fantasy games to play on there as well. You can go from the Sunday 1 o'clocks to the 4 o'clocks. You could go all the way just straight Monday night. Lots of good stuff on there, so make sure you check them out. And, of course, when you crown your fantasy champion this year, look no further than Pro-Am belts. All right, we got to start tonight off with a tad bit of news, and we're just going to make this real quick because last night was... Oh, I'm sorry. I was just waking up from last night's game. That was completely boring. That's mainly because the Jets were on it. But let's give a little credit to the Jets. I mean, put a little beat down on those Patriots. Aaron Rodgers looked sharp last night. 281, 2 touchdowns. And, of course, everyone's talking about the little sideline thing with him and Salah. What I saw there was somebody being like, yeah. That's what I saw. People are like, oh, come on, bro. Like, Aaron Rodgers was like, yeah, feeling that. And I totally was with him on that. I think the biggest note from last night was the Braylon Allen, just looks gangbusters. Jets really, really lucked out in the running back position. Breece Hall with 16 carries, 54 yards. He got the TD, but look what Braylon Allen did. 11 carries, 4 under, and got, 1 more yard. But still, it was more efficient with those runs. So I thought that was the biggest thing for me. Tyler Conklin had a big night, 5 receptions, 93 yards. And listen, if you ain't picked up Alan Lazard yet, you better start waking up because Aaron Rodgers seems to be loving him, Lazard. And I'm not even going to talk about the Patriots because it's just wasting our time. What do you think about last night's game, Justin?
Yeah, I'm just going to echo a lot of the stuff that you said. I think it just looks good when Aaron Rodgers is back there. I mean, that's, it's a CJ Stroud thing, If you can elevate all the players around you, then you want all the players around that person because, like you said, Alan Lazard. Alan Lazard was a number 2 wasting away in Green Bay who came with Aaron Rodgers to the Jets. That was Alan Lazard's story. But guess what? Aaron Rodgers likes him so much that he's going to make him a focal point of this offense. And when you have Garrett Wilson probably getting double teamed with a safety up top, you're going to find a wide open Alan Lazard. What was big for me was Conklin, like you said, because Conklin opens up this offense across the middle. And that is actually really important. You got to be able to layer these balls into everywhere, and you've got to have an option everywhere. And so with Conklin there, Braylon Allen doing his thing, and they even got he's not a rookie tight end, but he kind of is. Jeremy Ruckert, he's a second-year man. Him involved, I think that, that looked like the best version of the Jets from the past, 5 years. I was actually excited. I was just I heard Dan Orlovsky say the Jets can beat anybody. I was just like, whoa, Dan, settle down. But I could feel that energy in the building where I'm like, okay, they're in a playoff game. Maybe there's something there. But let's get to the playoffs first. All right, Dan? Let's not go crowning the king over here.
Yeah, it was the Jacoby Brissett-led Patriots, although Drake May did make an appearance a little bit later. But, we're in a league text. Of course, Freddie's in it. And just, last night, he was already, this, yada, yada, yada. I'm like, Fred, bro, it's Jacoby Brissett and the Patriots, and it's week 3. Chill out, homie. Don't forget the beatdown you got over in San Francisco. I know that's kind of far out of your memory already. Not much to say again about the Patriots. Definitely look like a struggle bus, and I wouldn't want, I wouldn't start anyone on that roster right now, to be quite frank with you. All right, well, listen, a lot of injuries. All right, a lot of injuries to talk about. So I don't waste too much time. We got to get Brian in here. He's got to give us the skinny on these injuries. It's plaguing the NFL right now. So let's go inside the medical tent with Brian.
A.J. Dillon just went into the medical tent a moment ago.
Brian Scott from the Injured List podcast. Welcome in, my friend.
What up, gentlemen? How are we doing? By the way, I got myself a little Braylon Allen on my fantasy roster. That dude's only 20 years old. He's one of the youngest guys in the whole NFL.
Yeah, the definition of stud. I could definitely say for Mr. Allen, Jets definitely lucked out on that draft pick. All right, Bri, fill us in. We got a lot of injuries to talk about. So I know you probably got a big list. Hit them up.
I do. Yeah, we got a lot to talk about. And yes, there has been a lot of injuries, but the cool thing this season so far is that there's been a wide array of injuries. There hasn't been any one particular injury that seems to be taking out a lot of guys. So you can't blame the turf like everyone did last year for the hamstrings and the year before that for ACLs. It's just been a wide mix of weird injuries across the board here, starting with our boy there, A.J. Dillon, with his brachial plexus injury, then J.J. McCarthy going out of the season with a meniscal tear. Now we got Cooper Kupp dealing with an ankle issue, which plagued him a couple of years ago, which saw him miss 9 games. Recent reports earlier in this week said he was wearing a boot. Some guys said he was wearing a cast. There's a big difference. We don't really treat ankle injuries anymore with casts. It was likely a boot, but regardless, it doesn't sound like he's going to need to go on IR, but this is going to be several weeks absence for him. If this is the same ankle he dealt with 2 years ago, this could be more of an acute on chronic thing, which could pose problems going forward with the rest of the season, as this could be an issue that he might have to have addressed in the offseason, depending on the severity of this injury. So we'll have to keep an eye on what he does in the weeks to come. Then you got Isaiah Pacheco, fractured his fibula, doesn't require surgery, sounds like a stable ankle fracture. He should make it back in plenty of time before the end of the season. They're predicting about a 6 to 8 week time frame, and that sounds about right. So he's been officially put on IR. Deebo Samuel dealing with a calf strain. It doesn't sound like he's going to make it this week, at least. I'm guessing anywhere between 4 to 6, but that could be a little bit of a stretch. We'll see how severe it is, and we'll see if he's able to do anything next week. Hopefully this doesn't turn into a CMC issue where they end up putting him on IR because it's his Achilles and not his calf. We'll have to see how the 49ers play this. Justin, maybe you have some insider news. I don't know. I don't. Joe Mixon dealing with the high ankle sprain on what was obvious hip drop tackle, which was not called, which was very concerning to see. He's not the only guy this happened to. It's happened a few times, and the league made a point to make this illegal, yet I haven't seen a single flag thrown about it. And there's been multiple tackles. Joe Mixon got the worst of it. He didn't actually practice today. It looked like he might have actually been working toward playing this weekend, and now he's listed as doubtful, so we probably will not see him. Evan Ingram dealing with the hamstring injury that occurred during during the pregame warmups last weekend. Doug Peterson didn't sound too confident today that he's going to be ready this weekend. I don't think we'll see him. He's definitely going to be out at least this weekend, possibly more. Good news, Josh Downs should be making his season debut this weekend as he's bouncing back from a high ankle sprain, and it's about this timeline I predicted, which was about 4 weeks. So we kind of nailed that one there. And I think they did the right thing by slowly bringing him along, not rushing him back. Kenneth Walker dealing with an oblique strain. A couple days ago, he was seen on the practice field before practice started warming up. He was actually reaching for that oblique. He looked uncomfortable. Fast forward to today, and he was not even out there on the field at all. So it doesn't sound like he's going to be ready to go this weekend. We might have to wait another week to see what he does. Good news for Jake Ferguson. He's going to be back from his knee injury. He had a good practice today, and it sounds like him and CeeDee Lamb both are going to be good to go with no issues. T. Higgins sounds like he's going to be ready. They have the Monday Night Football game. He's dealing with the hamstring. He worked his way back into practice yesterday and today, and the extra day given the Monday night game will definitely help him. He's already missed 2 weeks, so this will be his season debut, and he should be good enough to go. Jordan Addison, he did not practice today. He's dealing with an ankle issue, so I don't think we'll see him this weekend. They said it was a mild injury. My guess is at least 2 weeks, so we'll have to see if he's able to ramp it up next week and get ready. Keenan Allen, I get asked about him a lot. I'm so sick of talking about him. He's literally day to day, week to week, month to month, season to season at this point. I don't even know why he's still fantasy relevant, but everybody keeps talking about him, so they keep asking me, and that's all I'm going to say about him. 2 guys that popped up late in the week here. George Kittle with the hamstring issue. He missed 2 days of practice, and he just popped up on the injury reports like on Wednesday. So he's actually now listed as doubtful, which means 25% chance that he plays. So I don't think we're going to see him on Sunday. And then Justin Herbert apparently is dealing with some type of high ankle sprain that didn't necessarily keep him out of the game this past weekend, but apparently limited him in practice yesterday and today. But it sounds like he's doing everything he can in his power to get back on the field. So he might be a game time decision, probably listed as questionable. And anything else you guys questions about? There's still a lot we haven't talked about, but a lot of them are on IR, and we won't be able to deal with them for a few more weeks. So
that's okay, bro. We gotta allow you to take a breath at least. Jeez, oh please. I didn't hear if you mentioned it, but I'm only asking because just out of morbid curiosity, I didn't get a chance to check. How about Dameon Pierce? Have you heard anything about him? Because that makes Cam Akers in play for the Texans if both him Mixon and Pierce don't go.
I haven't seen anything, but let me hear it. I just pulled it up. It says he's out.
Okay,
out again for week 3.
So that was. I wanted to make sure before I said that.
Yeah. Well, it's funny that you bring him up. You're the only one that's asked about him.
Well, what's ironic too is in my fantasy league, in my dynasty league, I started out this season with 0 freaking running backs. So the minute I heard about this, I immediately scooped him up, and people are like, "Why did you pick Cam Akers up?" I'm like, I don't know. So if I get a starting running back this week, I'm a happy guy.
Here's the bad news though, is that he's dealing with a hamstring issue, so that could be a while before we see him back. And by the way, AJ Brown, I didn't mention AJ Brown. It sounds like he's going to be a few weeks too. He that was a known thing. I mean, he was diagnosed with that last week and missed a game. So, but he's been quoted as saying he's going to be a few weeks too. So,
all right. So to our audience, if you have any questions going forward as far as injuries go, Brian's always available via social media. So feel free to reach out to him there. Be happy to answer any questions that you guys have. Sorry, Brian, me throw that out there on you. But Brian, where can they follow, subscribe, and get all your great content as well?
Yeah, so you can find me on X at Injured List Pod. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook, the Injured List Podcast, and you can look on my website, theinjuredlist.com. Andrew Leduc and I put out our Thursday blogs inside the medical tent. We do that segment on the show as well together, and then Sunday morning you'll find me right here on TSS doing these last-minute updates. But you know what? I want to let everybody know that you can always message me. I'm always available to contact directly. If you have questions, I'll shoot me a message. I'll throw a post up. Sometimes throughout my day, I'm busy at work and I don't always get the headlines come across my screen. So if you have questions, if you see things in the news, let me know. I'm happy to shoot a post up and let you guys in on some secrets and tips and advice. I'm not going to bore you with stats and medical jargon. It's all about layman's terms, easy to understand lingo, going off my 20 plus years experience. So unlike some of the other guys in this field in fantasy sports, I'm not going to bore you the crap out of you with the numbers and statistics and crap. I'm just going to give it to you straight. I'm a straight shooter.
Yeah, that's why they watch our show, because we don't bore them either. Also, I just want to throw out there, since you brought up the brachial plexus injury, just want to share with our audience, if they don't know, normally that injury happens from people leaning on crutches. All one of those things, it's this constant thing that you remind patients not to lean on crutches. So it's very odd for him to have that injury, quite frankly. So it was just one of those things, since you used a big word that maybe our audience doesn't know, I just wanted to throw that out there.
So the layman's term for that is stinger. You hear about stinger. Basically, it's a transient injury to the brachial plexus, which is the nerves coming out of your spine. Happens in football a lot. Usually it's from a compression or force or a traction force. Usually it's a temporary thing that goes away pretty quick, but he's had 2 of those in the last 2 years. At the end of last season, which kind of lingered into the offseason, then injured it in preseason, and apparently it's significant enough that he's shutting it down. I'm not sure if they were talking surgery for him, but if that is the case, that's not a good procedure.
Yeah, not a good thing at all. I'll just throw one last thing out there, since we're on this. I had a stinger one time when I played, and it was just because I fell backwards and used my hands to brace myself. And I'm telling you right now, I thought I was paralyzed. That's what it makes you feel like. I was like, and then it went away, thankfully. But yeah, that's a scary injury to have. So good luck to Mr. Dylan. All right, Brian,
you can give it to yourself too. You know, if you're sleeping at night and they call it the Saturday night nerve palsy, where you're crash in bed after drinking a long time and you lay on your arm like that. You wake up and your arm is completely numb. Essentially, that's what it is.
That's fun. I'm so glad you said that, because that happened to me as a child, like so many times. I would literally wake up and just fling my arm against the wall, like, what the hell is going on? So now I know what it was anyway. All right, guys. Well, listen, go visit Inside the Medical Tent. Great blog that Brian and Leduc put out. So make sure you go check that out. And of course, as he mentioned, check Brian out this Sunday. And of course, send your questions. We'll take a quick break to our friends from NeuroGuard. Brian, we'll see you on Sunday.
Dr. Michael Hutchison has harnessed the latest in neuromuscular dentistry and impact technology to develop a mouthguard that does more than protect. It enhances. NeuroGuard Plus isn't just a mouthguard. By focusing on the jaw's physiological position, it provides an added layer of neuroprotection, significantly reducing the risk of sports-related neurological injuries. All athletes should be using a custom mouthguard designed to their bite position. NeuroGuard Plus was created as a means to maintain your physiological jaw position regardless of your bite. The appliance is designed to optimize your upper-lower jaw relationship to improve your strength, your balance, your oxygen intake, and drastically lower your chance of a concussion. Independent studies have shown that the NeuroGuard Plus will provide you with improvement to both upper and lower body strength. The same improvements were not present with a common mouthguard. Over 6,500 athletes have used the NeuroGuard Plus. Dr. Hutchison is happy to say that the amount of diagnosed concussions is 0.2%. The NeuroGuard Plus offers athletes, coaches, and parents an advantage to keep their players safe on the field. If you or your child actively participates in athletics, they need to be protected from the dangers of repetitive head trauma. Get your NeuroGuard Plus mouthguard today. Click on the link and use code ILPSports for 10% discount on your purchase.
All right. Well, it's Friday night. You know, we're feeling all right. You know what time it is.
Breakdown! Bring it on down! Breakdown!
Bring it on down! Bring it on down! break it on down. Indeed, Fred is breaking it on down, sleeping somewhere. Let's get to our first matchup, the Giants. Big money Giants at the Brownies. Bryant's, if there's that team out there. The Giants are 16th against fantasy QBs, or 25th against running backs, 14th against receivers, and 21st against tight ends. Browns, we know they're a solid D, 12th against QBs, 12th against running backs, 17th against receivers, and 18th versus tight ends. Give me guys you like and don't like in this matchup.
I like Devin Singletary. I'm iffy on Malik Neighbors. On the other side, I still don't think Deshaun Watson warrants a start because it could be a very sloppy game. But I would 100% start Jerome Ford if you have him. A lot of people are like torn. They're like, "Oh, Ford." Ford is definitely the more explosive of the two. Foreman is there to kind of just obviously offer relief and mess with our fantasy minds and lineups. But I'm still going with Ford on that one. And here's the thing. I'm torn because I love Amari Cooper, but under Deshaun Watson, he just doesn't seem to provide any fantasy value whatsoever. I think he's got like 7 points in his first 2 weeks. Like, come on, dude. So I'm not starting any of the Browns receiving options right now. And Njoku is also kind of, I think, questionable right now with an ankle injury. Might be out. So I'm going to leave it at the running backs. Just go with the running backs.
Yeah, go with the running backs, but I will say don't go with Devin Singletary on the other side. There's really nobody on the Giants I would go with other than Malik Neighbors. I think, you have to start him, and he might even have a decent day. Garbage minutes, of course, always count. And as you mentioned, love Jerome Ford. Out of this receiver core, hang on Mr. Cooper. He ain't been hanging around too much. It's been Jerry Jeudy show right now over at Cleveland. But again, as you mentioned, I'm not sure how much I'd put much faith in those receivers, in my estimation. All right, let's get to the next one. Packers at Titans. Packers are 14th against fantasy QBs, 26th against running backs, 21st against receivers, and 16th versus tight ends. On the other side, Tennessee is 9th against QBs, 24th against running backs, number 4 against receivers. I told you guys in the beginning, the secondary's for real. And tight ends, they are number 2. What do you think of this matchup?
It seems like it's going to be another Josh Jacobs day for sure. And it really depends. I mean, Jordan Love or Malik Willis really sways how you feel about these wide receivers. Because if it was Jordan Love, you kind of feel like, okay, Jaden Reed should at least be an okay flex. And if you're really desperate, throw out Christian Watson because there's always that deep ball threat. But if it's Malik Willis, unfortunately, he was more successful running the ball than he was really throwing the ball. So he kind of makes me go, so this is kind of like a sit and wait on this one. It really, Packers, if you drafted the Packers offense, you weren't drafting them high draft picks anyway, so it's not a mandatory start. But it's just kind of one of those days, man. You just got to kind of sit and see how the weekend plays out, because if Jordan Love seriously comes back, I'd still be a little bit hesitant because that pass rush is pretty good for Tennessee as well. And, if the dude's got a knee injury, like he could be pushed over the wrong way and it completely fuck up his season. So I don't know if Matt LaFleur wants to roll that dice, but who knows?
Yeah, I would stay away from the Packers passing offense, but I said that last week. I say it every week. I see Titans are up, and that makes me nervous going against them. They got a great secondary, so I would definitely be nervous, as you mentioned. Malik Willis, maybe a little bit on the ground. Jordan Love comes back, not expecting a ton. Jaden Reed also was a little came up on the questionable list as well. So there's quite a few injuries on the Packers side. On the Titans side, I mean, it's Will Levis, so Calvin Ridley had a great game last week. I noticed someone catch a touchdown. I didn't know who it was. It was DeAndre Hopkins. So believe it or not, so he's still there. But again, going back to this running game, let's dial it up. Tony freaking Pollard. Spears is a little injured coming in, a little bit hobbled. go ahead and dial him up because you're looking at this Packers rush D that is 26 against running back. So again, dial up Tony Pollard out of this matchup. All right, let's go Bears at Colts. Man, this is a real interesting one here. Bears against fantasy QBs are number 5 against running backs 15th. They're 12th against receivers and 23rd against tight ends. The Colts on the other side are 19th versus QBs, 20th versus running backs, 26th against receivers, and they're 12th against tight ends. Who's some guys you like and don't like in this one?
Oh, I love it when they dial up the pressure on the quarterback. So they've dialed up the pressure to about 10 on Anthony Richardson. They're saying that he's an amateur. He doesn't throw the ball well. You know what? That might all be true. But guess what? This motherfucker's he's got Josh Downs back. And Josh Downs, this is the difference maker in the offense right here. Because this is the guy who you put him in the slot. He makes the easy check down looks. And he's a really good route runner. I would not be surprised, Kamish, if he literally has 10 targets in this game, and we're talking about him as a trade target for next week, because honestly, I think he's going to outperform Michael Pittman. He might outperform Alec Pierce, depending on if he gets a deep ball out there. But that's also another thing. When you have options like that, it opens up the defense, or it opens up the offense, and it challenges the defense. Obviously, Richardson has just been one of those guys that sporadically throws the ball downfield. He doesn't really have any short options. I think adding Downs is really going to help him. Like I said, I think he'll probably outperform Pittman, so I wouldn't put Pittman in. If you have to, obviously do what you got to do, but if you got other options, I think that's the best thing for you. And then as far as the run game goes, it's hard to not start Jonathan Taylor, so just start him. I mean, he had 100 yards last week. I was depressed because I looked at the score and I was just like, oh, man, there's no way Jonathan Taylor did good. And I looked at my fantasy score. I was like, oh, shit, no shit. Jonathan Taylor did good. So I was very happy with that. On the Bears side, it's so discouraging. Caleb Williams, why do we put this title on people? Generational quarterback. Why do we do that? It's like we're literally – ripping these guys to shreds before they even get out there because they have such an expectation on them that now, if you don't meet it, you're garbage, you're trash. Like, we're coming into this like this guy didn't need any help at all. Like, if you saw him at USC, you knew that this guy went through sporadic, he went through spurts of good and bad football. Obviously, he's not adapting well. I understand it as, to me, I look at it as you got a terrible coach. They should have got rid of Eberflus. They should have just overhauled the offense and gotten some new guys in there. Because now their offensive line looks like shit. And the receivers, I honestly, doesn't look like they're really getting too open out there. I mean, I know Keenan Allen's not out there, but, Rome Odunze and DJ Moore. And then your quarterback's not getting enough time to see it. So it should have just been an overhaul. I think we need a little change in culture in the Bears. But I'm not here to debate that. I'm here to tell you who to start with the Chicago Bears, DJ Moore.
Say that for Sunday, Sean.
Don't make the mistake that I made and start Caleb Williams 2 weeks in a row thinking he's going to bounce back. I'll wait and see. I'll wait and see before I start you next, son. And if you give me another 7-point week, you're going to be riding the freaking waiver wire. That's where you're going to be.
Well, so to work a little bit off your point, let's shout out Brian real quick, though. Brian from the Injury List podcast wanted to mention Joku, can't even speak tonight, is out for at least another week or two. High ankle sprain off hip drop tackle. That was not called a penalty. Another one. Jeez, oh, please.
They're not calling him this year. They're literally not calling him this year. They made such a point to say it's banned, and they're not calling it. They have all this replay.
They'd rather call illegal formation. Like, that's what they'd rather call, because that's
15 times.
That's a safety issue, I guess. Anyway, also, just to just piggyback off what you said, Josh Downs is Anthony Richardson's favorite target. And speaking of this, a lot of people with all these injuries going on might have dropped Josh Downs off their roster. So if I was you, I would go look on your waiver wire right now and go plug through, see if he's still out there, because he is definitely somebody that you can rest on the rest of the season, at least in your flex spot. to start things out. So just to piggyback off that, Caleb Williams looked great in the preseason. I was so excited about it. And the adjustment right now is just not there. But I do want to shout out my son, because we were at the Scott Fishbowl draft, the live draft here in Orlando. And man, if DJ Moore didn't drop to us, like he just kept dropping. And all of a sudden, I told my son, I said, all right, now this spot, if he comes, because my son really wanted him. And you know what? When it came up to that time and he was still there, all of a sudden my son stands up and goes, give me more. So shout out to DJ Moore. My boy, Robert Stage Cooper says, give me more this weekend. All right, let's go. Texans at Vikings. Texans against fantasy QBs are 22nd. Against running backs, they're 3rd. Ooh, that line's nasty. 19th against receivers, 7th against tight ends. Vikings, number 3 against QBs, 8th versus running backs, 18th versus receivers, and 28th against tight ends. What do you say? Who you liking, don't like in this one?
Man, it's so hard because it's like we don't know what the running back situation is going to be like. I would say whoever the running back is, probably at least worth a decent flex, because as you saw last week, Jordan Mason on kind of limited carries still got 100 yards. I mean, the 49ers really blew that one when they said, we're going to pass first and run second. It's just like, dude, you're missing weapons. What the hell is wrong with you? Run the ball with Mini Marshawn. I'll get on with that later. That's for Sunday's episode. But anyways, as far as like, the rest of the Texans go, I don't think you can go wrong with a wide receiver. It seems like the wrong answer so far has been Tank Dell. But guess what? If he scored a touchdown last week, that wouldn't have been a wrong answer. So I'm looking at this as Tank Dell, Stephon Diggs, Nico Collins. Most likely, you don't have all those guys on the same team, so they're not all going to kill you. So I would just put every single one of those motherfuckers in your roster if you have them. If you have a Tank Dell, don't be afraid of Nico Collins and Stephon Diggs, because Stroud, he's got enough to go around for everybody. And then, so obviously that puts down for that. That puts Stroud in there. Other side, not liking Sam Darnold this week. I think Sam Darnold, that was his high of the entire season. I'm not even joking you, bro. I don't think he will get that much better this rest. He might have 1 or 2 fantasy games a little bit better, but I think that's his peak right there. I think we looked at like what his ceiling is, and we're just like, wow, that was impressive. And it was. But I think that we're going to start seeing Sam Darnold's stock go a little bit down. And, I like Aaron Jones. He's always been a little injury prone, a little too much for me. I don't like the guys that always come up with a hamstring injury. Ty Chandler is an interesting pickup. Talk about a guy who might have been dropped after week 1. He's an interesting pickup. And then, obviously Justin Jefferson. I don't know if Jordan Addison's playing. I can't remember if the doc said anything about that, but that's an interesting one. And then I don't want to know what Johnny Munt's story is. I'm not going to play him.
Love it. All right. So first of all, let's shout out Leonard Andrews. Thank you so much for, I don't know if this is a question or a little bit of a brag here. He's got 12-man PPR, Kyler, Kyron, Javonta, Hill, Chase, Collins, Laporta. And then he follows up with, is my team a W? So I'll just answer this real quick. It really just depends on what everybody else has got in your league. I mean, this is a decent squad. Don't get me wrong. Javonta, but and you got to think Hill is going to have a little bit of a down, little bit. I think he's going to still be all right, of course, because it's America's team. So I still like Tyreek. Jamar Chase, I think is definitely due for a little bit of an uptick. Need to get the hell out of his own head. And you mentioned Nico Collins, and I mentioned it. I remember on the first show being nervous about starting any of these guys. I have Tank Dell in another league, and I understand. And I already knew this was going to happen. He's going to have these weeks where he's down, but then he's going to have these explosions weeks as well. And just to, if you didn't see the Texans game last week, he did drop a wide open bomb, so he could have had a TD and a nice week last week. Just didn't come through with it. And of course, Sam Laporta is going to step up too. So I definitely see a rise in your team, if you will. So yeah, I like it, and especially with Kyler getting on with Marvin Harrison. That was
this guy's team is 1-1 right now, and he's just looking for that like reassurance. He's just like, please tell me I'm still making the playoffs. Please. Bro, you're probably still making the playoffs. You're good. You're good. Jamar Chase on that rocket ship, and I think Laporta's on that rocket ship this week as well.
Yeah, I agree.
I think you're good, bro.
Going back to that last matchup, just want to mention, I know I said something about Cam Akers earlier. Just, again, flex play. Because the front seven, of the Vikings is really good. So, it's a tough matchup for any running back. I think in this particular matchup, they're a decent squad. I know Jordan Mason got it, but it's the Niners, though. You guys run well. That's what you do, although you kind of switch it up a little bit.
When Kyle Shanahan fucking sticks to his goddamn
right, when he sticks to the script. So again, more flex play. Also, he fumbled last week as well, so I don't know if it's going to be an all Cam Akers show. They might have some other guys mixed in there as well. So, but again, as you alluded to, I do not be afraid to start any of these Texans receivers because you are going to have a good game at some point if you have Dell or Diggs. But they're more flexy, where Nico Collins, I think, is a solid receiver one, or at least a maybe a bottom tier receiver one, if you will.
No, he's automatic. You're spot on. He's automatic.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I don't want to start Devontae Adams.
Right. And speaking of Aaron Jones, is somebody that's been a little hobbled this week as well, and he's going against a huge front seven of that Texans. I would stay hell away from that if I had to deal with it. All right, let's go to the next one. The Eagles at the Saints. This is a good one right here. Against fantasy QBs, the Eagles are 24th. Against running backs, are 18th. Against receivers, they are 30th. And against tight ends, they're 11th. Saints, 10th against QBs, second against running backs. They are 23rd, however, against receivers, but I think that was a little bit more last week where Dak was just having to throw all game to get them back in it. And tight ends, they are 13th. Saints at home, tough to play. What do you say about this matchup?
Oh, I love this matchup. I think that you can't go wrong playing anybody in this matchup. If I were to tell you to start them all, would you believe me? Because to be honest with you, look, Devonta Smith had a hell of a game last week. I know Marshawn Lattimore's on the other side, but guess what? Devonta Smith is a freaking route savant. This man knows how to get separation. And then you look at, the only person, I will say this, Dallas Goedert. I don't trust him. I just don't trust him. I don't know what it is. Now he's going to go for 20 points. So put him in your lineups because Justin said you don't trust him.
Justin just laid it down.
I just did it. I just did the karma thing. It's going to spin right back around. But, I really do believe that, Alvin Kamara, Saquon Barkley, great plays. I believe a lot on the Saints side is going to be a great play because this Eagles defense is vaunted by hype and nothing else. Their interior has Georgia Bulldogs in it, but they are looking more like freaking English Bulldogs. They're freaking those guys are sucking air out of the building, and it's just been terrible so far, and you see it through the first 2 weeks. They won one game in Brazil, and then they lost last week. Literally, when you were like, how could you lose this game? They lost it. Why? Because they couldn't get pressure and they couldn't contain on the outside. So, all I'm saying, any player you got in this game, play them because I think that both sides are going to have a very fun day.
I agree. I think both sides definitely eat in this matchup. However, I can understand being a little hesitant because this Saints defense is pretty decent, and you are going and New Orleans too, which adds that little bit of extra icing on the cake. But to your point, Devonta Smith, tons of targets coming for him in this matchup. So he's a definite play. You're definitely playing Saquon. You're definitely playing Jalen. And I kind of somewhat disagree with Goddard. I'm sorry. I agree that he is unreliable, but I only would say in this matchup in particular, I could see him eating a little bit. Not only because you said he wouldn't, but because
I was gonna say, don't worry, bro. You're gonna be right anyways.
Because AJ Brown a little hobbled into this matchup, so I think Goddard's an okay play at least for this week. But I feel you on the can't trust him point. And like you mentioned, Alvin Kamara. Oh my God. So those people that drafted Alvin Kamara in the whatever 5th, 6th, 7th round, man, he looking nice right now. So I love him. And I actually in this matchup, Chris Olave, dial him up. I know everyone's excited about Rashid Shaheed, what I've seen, Rashid seems like a one-trick pony to me, and he's gonna get his when he gets him. But Chris Olave is the guy here. This is the guy I think in this matchup is going to come back up a little bit. So I think you see a good game out of Chris Olave. All right, let's go to a matchup that's not so fantasy friendly. The Chargers at the Steelers. So check these defenses out. Chargers against QBs are number 1, 11th against running backs, number 2 against receivers, and 24th against tight ends. Steelers against QBs, number 7 against running backs. They are 8th against receivers and 19th against tight ends. I guess we're dialing up tight ends in this one. What do you think of this matchup?
Play the Steelers defense.
I think I might go Chargers though too, defensively, because of course Justin Fields gonna make some mistakes too. So
yeah, so I was just saying play the Steelers defense mostly because of the high ankle sprain for Herbert. So I'm expecting a lot of sacks. I'm expecting him to not be as mobile, and worst case scenario, because Justin Herbert's my guy. Worst case scenario, if he gets injured, it's Easton Stick coming in, rather than if Justin Fields get injured, it's Russell Wilson coming in. So you're like Easton Stick, Russell Wilson, TJ Watt on the other side. But yeah, I hate all offensive players for this game. This game fucking sucks. It's gonna be so fun to watch football wise, but fantasy wise, I wouldn't put J.K. Dobbins. I took him out of my lineups. I know a lot of people are going to be, what are you talking about, Justin? J.K. Dobbins had like 130 yards in both of his games. Yeah. He did it against the Cupcake Panthers, and he did it against the soft Raiders rush defense. Come on now. This is a legitimate team that is legitimately going to be pounding that defense or that offensive line. It's going to be interesting. I think the best matchup of the day is going to be Joe Alt versus Watt, because I don't know if you've been seeing some of the social media. It's kind of fun. Some of the social media has got Joe Alt as like the Undertaker, like slaying all these pass rushers. So I'm here for that.
The internet wins 100% of the time for sure. Listen, I just want to piggyback one thing. America's team, Miami Dolphins. Be watching this matchup. If Justin Fields has a good day, you better do the smart thing and make a trade for your boy, Russell Wilson. I feel like he fits our system pretty freaking decent. A very good clone of Tua, if you will, an older Tua, if you will. Let's go. And again, I just echo everything you said. In
a less humble version of Tua.
All right, whatever. All right, there was some smart ass shit was coming, so I was like, "Damn, why did I even go with that?" This matchup, it's just a good defensive matchup. Harbaugh's got this defense that was filled with playmakers now doing what they're supposed to do and making plays. This is it's a decent defensive matchup. You like 90s football. Well, welcome to Chargers at Steelers because we're going to see a lot of field goals. So I would say go with the kickers in this one. All right, let's go. Broncos at the Bucks. Now the Broncos are 18th against QBs, 21st against running backs. They are number 1 against receivers and 20th against tight ends. Bucks 28th against QBs, 30th against running backs, 16th against receivers, and 10th against tight ends. I just want to point out before I ask you, I didn't know if you knew this or not, and I heard this stat the other day, and I was like, what? Do you know the Bucks are the only NFL team not to allow a passing touchdown so far this season? That's pretty damn impressive. Played the Lions last week. So what do you think? Who do you like in this matchup?
Wow.
Yeah.
I think they're going to I think they're going to give that streak up this week.
Ooh.
And that's crazy because I don't even like Bo Nix to be that good this week. But something tells me, I'm feeling it in the aura right now, that Bo Nix is going to connect with somebody for a passing touchdown. Because I think that he has yet to score a passing touchdown. I think he's only done rushing touchdowns. So I think that that's kind of a really weird coincidence there. I could be totally wrong about that. But it just seems like he's been absolutely the worst quarterback in the league right now. But yeah, I love all the Bucs players all day long. Get yourself some Rachaad White. If Rachaad White shows up on the injury list, get yourself some Bucky Irving. I know he's out on some waiver wires. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, like those options. Hell, if you're really down on your options, I'd even go with a K. Dotton, because this kind of seems like one of those let's show and let's flex what we got moments where everybody on the offense eats. Baker Mayfield is 100% a great play today, or not today, but great play for the game. And you know what? Like I said, whoever the running back is, I think is going to be an excellent play and even an excellent DFS play, because it seems like they're going to get a lot of run. On the other side, don't start a damn person. Do not even try it. If you have Bo Nix and you're like, oh, I need a super flex, it's Bo Nix or Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks. Just Brandon Cooks. Because it's just he's been so frustrating because, and I know it's the offense. I know he's a younger guy. He's trying to, this is a complex offense, Sean Payton's complex offense, but he really is surrounded by nobody. Like who? Cortland Sutton, Javonte Williams, and who else? Who else? That Valley guy was injured. He had 8 targets, and then he ended up getting injured and he's not there. Yeah, exactly. So
when you're like that guy, you're in trouble. In your skill positions. But I will say, I think you said that guy. If there's going to be that guy to break the streak on both sides, I think it's Cortland Sutton. They've been targeting him downfield quite often. So eventually that's going to connect at some point. And also I echo the, go ahead, man.
Oh, no. I was just going to throw in the point that I looked it up. 0 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Bo Nix scores the first touchdown on the fucking Bucks. Let's go. Where's that prop bet?
It's called now. Now, I always say I'm not that guy because I remember we had the Viking show and I called out Van Ginkel and then he made I'm not that guy to put our stuff out there. But this, I'm going to remember. You called it out, so I'm going to pick a short of it. So if it happens, we're gonna shout you out on this big call right here. I like it. And a shout out, of course, I echo your sentiments on Rachaad White, and if it's Bucky Irving, definitely. And the shout out I was gonna say is, yo, Bucky Irving, check your Facebook friend request. I sent you one. It was when me and Westhoff became Facebook friends. Like all of a sudden, I got like these like players. It's like add friend. I'm like, yeah, why not? Fuck it. So I got quite a few players Facebook friends. Pretty cool.
Hey, speaking of the Broncos, how is Coach still there?
Coach is still there. Yes, he was gonna come on the Broncos show, but the timing with it was his publicist. We just couldn't work out that day for him. So, but he was gonna come on. She said he loves our show, which made me feel good. So that was kind of cool. Nonetheless, we'll definitely have old Coach Westhoff on next. I didn't mean to say, I meant Coach. You know what I'm saying. All right. So, and yeah, of course. I mean, how do you not like Chris Godwin playing that Cooper Kupp role? He's really putting it down. A lot of people were talking about it, and you're coming into fruition so far this season. All right. Well, we're going to take our quick little break, a minute break. We're going to get to the 4:00 games next. Before we do that, we got to talk some sophisticated thoughts with Mr. Mallard. Let's check it out.
Oh la la! What a beautiful day to be classy here on Sophistication Station. I have some classy starts for you
to get you through DFS or to get you some backdoor wins this week if you had some bad luck with Ramondre Stevenson on Thursday night. So first off, I'm stacking Brock Purdy and Jawan Jennings this week with Deebo Samuel out for an extended period of time now. Everyone's going to be looking at Brandon Ayuk. I get it. He's going to be the bona fide number one, but Jawan Jennings has had a role in this offense even when Deebo and Ayuk are both healthy. So roll with Jawan Jennings and then Brock Purdy to find him as well. I like that stack. And then go ahead and get me some Jerome Ford against this Giants defense. Going to be rolling with him. And then because I have all the savings and DFS standpoints at least, I can now afford me someone like Marvin Harrison Jr. as well. So those are the 4 guys that I'm going to be starting in as many places as I can this week. For more, I'm Andrew LeDuc, a.k.a. Mr. Mallard. Stay classy, friends.
If he were to punch you in the face, you would have to fight off the strong urge to thank him.
Mr. Mallard, I just wanted to say there's nothing I like more than a backdoor win. All right, let's go on to the next matchup. The Panthers at the Raiders, the epic matchup at 4 o'clock. The Panthers are 21st against QBs, 29th against running backs, 11th versus receivers, 30th against tight ends. I feel like they're only 11th against receivers because it's just like over at a certain point and they're just running the football on this team. Raiders, 15th against QBs, 22nd against running backs, 15th against receivers, 27th against tight ends. At home after that big W over the Ravens. What do you say? Who do you like in the matchup?
Believe it or not, the Panthers have not given up the most yards in the NFL. It's crazy. It's crazy. That belongs to the Colts. The Colts have given up, I think it was like 400 yards a game or some shit like that. Like, you're fucking insane. Josh Jacobs, 150 yards in like the first quarter or some shit like that. Yeah, that's where you got to think for that one. But anyways, this is a game that I can't figure out because, Commish, I really want to go with the whole old rule of like brand new quarterback. It's not the other player's fault. It's the shitty quarterback's fault. So the new guy's going to come in and show the young guy how it's done, slinging the ball around to Adam Thielen, Deontay Johnson. He's going to get the rook involved, Jatavion Sanders. And then out of nowhere, Miles Sanders is going to have that retrograde 100-yard game. But then I realized this is a team that's coached by a rookie coach that's run by David Tepper, and I go, there's no fucking way that that's going to happen. But, you know, I will say this. I think this is the best week to keep Deontay Johnson in your lineups. It seems like he could go off for maybe 5 catches, 50 yards, maybe a touchdown. That would be fun. But, yeah, other than that, I mean, I'm not in on the Red Rocket hype. I'm not in on the Miles Sanders hype. I'm not in on that Jatavion Sanders hype. Maybe next year. I'm not buying the Panthers. I literally, Commish will say this on Sunday. I flipped my own script because I literally was thinking about it. And I was just like, there ain't no fucking way that this is happening. I'm going to say this. The Raiders on the other side get their running backs. I don't know if Gardner Minshew is going to do great, but I think Zamir White is in for his first big game of the year. And then don't be surprised if Jacoby Myers has a flex-worthy game for you. And like I said with Gardner Minshew, if you're not surprised that he's going to be doing bad, don't be surprised if Devontae Adams kind of goose eggs you a little bit. Maybe not an absolute zero, but it's definitely not going to be the wide receiver 1 value you wanted from him.
Yeah, going to, their defense kind of tells the story of their season. Get up early with the QB and then their running back. Talking about the Panthers D, they're not good against QBs because they get up early, and then they're horrible against running backs because then they start just pounding the football on them at that point. And because their offense really was just not doing their defense any favors neither. I don't know where this hype is you're talking about because I ain't seen it, but I've also kind of been out of social media. So if there's any hype, I can't believe it. But I will say that Andy Dalton, one thing he does do well is throw a deep ball. So as you mentioned, Deontay Johnson could be in play a little bit on this matchup. Seeing it, obviously there's going to be garbage time. Andy Dalton's going to have to try to throw them back in it. So yeah, I think I like that sentiment. And on the Raiders side, I totally agree with you. There's everything you said. I would just say, only other point I would say, you said the running backs, mentioned Zamir White, Alexander Madison, has had, especially in PPR, has had some good catches out of the backfield and has got some goal line work as well. So I like him maybe in a flex play. Crazy enough. Can't even believe I'm saying that. All right, let's go to the best matchup of the day with America's team, the Miami Dolphins, going up to Seattle to face the Seahawks. Now, this D has been pretty decent. Fourth against QBs, James Cook against running backs, sixth against receivers, and eighth versus tight ends. They're 27th against running backs. Seventh, the Seahawks are seventh against QBs, 14th versus running backs, 5th against receivers, and 26th against tight ends. All right, got to hear it. What do you think about this matchup?
Did you say that they were James cooked against running backs?
Yes. Like the pun? Come on.
I fucking love that. I fucking love that. That was awesome. That's a soundbite right there. It was James cooked against running. Oh, man. It really bugs me to say this because I like Miami. I like what they do weapons-wise. I like their coach, the former 49ers guy. But Skylar Thompson, I don't like him so much. I don't think he's very good. I think that they probably wish they had drafted Brock Purdy instead of Skylar Thompson. But I'll just say this, you always say this. It's so easy to get Tyreek open. All you got to do is just get him the ball, and he's open. So I would not be surprised if they score a couple touchdowns. But I'm not risking putting Skylar Thompson in any type of lineups whatsoever. Tyreek, you cannot afford to not put him in your lineup. Jalen Waddle is the one that I'm risky about because he does play a lot of like the slot and, the crossing routes. But I'm afraid that Skylar's not going to have enough time to actually process all that and let it get open. Devon A-Chain, still putting in my lineups because he's a beast, freaking animal everywhere. I think even with Skylar Thompson, I think he's going to be more of an animal because I think he's going to be catching the ball now. I don't know how Raheem Mostert, how he's looking right now, but, if he's in there, I even think about putting him in a flex because he's so good. And the Seahawks defense is a little bit shaky. They're kind of touting a couple of big wins over shitty teams. On the Seahawks side, I like Charbonnet. I like Geno. And I think I'm just going to like Jackson Smith and Jigba instead of Metcalf this game. I think I'm going to bench Metcalf this game. I think Ramsey's going to give him a lot of trouble.
This is where I'm going to somewhat disagree because I feel like traditionally, and even with Ramsey there, Miami has struggled against big receivers. So I think out of those guys, I would take DK. And, as you mentioned, as I mentioned, they were James Cook against running backs. So you're going to see a lot of Zach Charbonnet in this matchup. I mean, he didn't look all that great, but it's all about volume. So you're definitely starting him. Going to the other side of the football, I'm going to go on a big rant, but I'll just say this. Jalen Waddle, I'll put it as you were talking about it, instead of your solid receiver 2, he's down to your flex play, period. So you're deciding over it, which is crazy to think about. But I will say a few things. Skylar Thompson does have the goods. I've always said it in the preseason. I've seen it. But the issue is when it comes to the regular season, Skylar Thompson doesn't play like he does in the preseason. In the preseason, this guy's running around. He's doing all kind of crazy stuff. Now, this preseason, I noticed he played like he did in the regular season where he was more timid. Skylar Thompson got legs on him, but is afraid to use them for some reason. I don't know if it's because he's watching Tua. I don't know what's going on. But if he uses those legs a little more, Skylar Thompson could be a decent fantasy play, but we'll see if that's how it plays out. But I will also say, as an organization, the Miami Dolphins, I don't know why you have not looked at, especially with the issues going on with Tua, but at least a solid veteran backup. That makes no sense to me at all. And you already dealt with it a season ago, not last year, but the year. So you've already dealt with this. So why you haven't, I mean, look at what Joe Flacco did for the Browns, that type of thing. Not saying Joe Flacco could do that, but there are plenty of guys out there that would have been a solid backup. So I just don't understand why they haven't invested more into that. So I just wanted to get that off my chest anyway. But in this particular matchup, I always, like you said, I always say it, I could throw Tyreek 1,000 yards. I mean, it's not that hard. Just throw the guy a screen and he's gone. So I think that's all right. You know what, the guy I do like this week, who's last week I thought started to shine a little bit, and they desperately need a third guy, Jonnu Smith. He could be that one guy that if you got Njoku and you're looking for somebody, I know Gesicki's a little hobbled now too, so he was like that little hot guy, but T. Higgins is also back, so you might as well get off that train. Jonnu Smith might be the new hot thing on the tight end market, so just take a look at that. We'll see how that goes. All right, let's move on. Ravens at Cowboys. I cannot wait for this. Did you think this game was going to happen? The 0-2 Ravens going to the Cowboys? I mean, this is a big matchup. 17th against QBs are the Ravens, 6th against running backs, 27th against receivers, and they're 29th against tight ends. Cowboys, 20th against QBs, dead last against running backs, 13th against receivers, and 17th against tight ends. What say you guys? Do you like and don't like?
So I'm going to go on a little rant here for a second, because I went to the Baltimore game last week, and it just didn't look like the Ravens at all. So, how I was just talking about how Kyle Shanahan gets away from his playbook. I feel like the Ravens get away from the best thing that they have going for them, and that's Lamar Jackson's legs. And, that was the game where Lamar decided, I want to be a pocket quarterback. I think I can do this. And it's like, hello, dude, your best asset is making people look silly on the field, and you're actually smart enough to get out of bounds and slide. So you're not getting hit like Josh Allen gets hit and all that stuff. It is mind-boggling to me. Here's another thing. Isaiah Likely, use him. They only got him the ball twice last week. Guess what happened, Coop? Each time he took a 6-yard scamper, a 6-yard little dig route, and he took it for 12. He added another 6 yards after the tackle. The dude has got something, and I'm sorry, Mark Andrews does not have that. He does not have that athleticism. He does not have that ability to transfer his body fluidly. It's just not there. Mark Andrews is still a great tight end, but maybe that means Isaiah Likely needs to be a bigger, slot receiver and get him on the field more often, because this guy can legitimately ball. And it frustrates the shit out of me, because I'm like, dude, you realize you have a weapon there, right? So, off of my rant here, I'll say this. I think this is a Ravens get-right game. They have to. They have to get right here. And I think the Ravens put a licking on the Cowboys for back-to-back weeks for the Cowboys getting a licking. And I think that includes Isaiah Likely getting back to his touchdown ways, Mark Andrews getting a touchdown, and Zay Flowers getting a touchdown. So the only person I don't like in this matchup is Rashad Bateman on the Ravens side. On the Cowboys side, it's CD and Dak. And, really nothing else, because the run game for the Raiders wasn't working. I don't know why you think the old Tonka truck and Rico Dowdle is going to work for the Cowboys in this one. I would say, it's risky to go Ferguson, because I think Ferguson is also banged up. So for me, I'm looking at it like, play your Ravens, play CD, play Dak, and just let it roll. Unless you got Brandon Cooks and you need Bo Nix to be your super flex, then do that.
I like it. All right, let's go to the next matchup. We got the 49ers at the Rams. Oh, I just wanted to say, I'm sorry, I started to move on. I wanted to say one quick thing. In this matchup, I kind of disagree with what you said. I think their biggest asset is Derrick Henry, which they really should be utilizing more. And for some reason, they aren't. I just feel like brought this guy in to be a difference maker, kind of the same with the Eagles. I went on the same rant with them. It's like, use the guy you brought in. I feel like they're not utilizing Derrick Henry enough. So I think, I think in this matchup, I agree. I think it is a get-right game for the Ravens. But I think against the worst rush defense, worst rush defense in the National Football League right now, the Cowboys, I think the Derrick Henry eats in this matchup. All right, let's go to your team, 49ers at the Rams. 49ers 26 against fantasy QBs, or 28th against running backs, 29th against receivers, 3rd against tight ends. On the other side, QBs, they are 29th, the Rams, 13th against running backs, 22nd against receivers, and 31st against tight ends. This is definitely a different Rams defense. What do you think of the matchup?
The fucking nightmare game. Oh man, this is one of those games because you're not going to have Kittle, you're not going to have Debo, you're not going to have CMC. Brandon Ayuk is looking like he hustled us out of $30 million a year. He has been absolutely dreadful. You hope that that's just like the quintessential preseason rust and he shakes off and he starts getting open. But, if you're looking for somebody to flex, Juwan Jennings is not a bad option. I also like this kid named Jacob Cowing, but he's more of a DFS. I wouldn't tell anybody to flex him, but I would say if you're looking for a sneaky flex and you want to fill out your roster with legit studs, Jacob Cowing, he's got a lot of explosive talent. He's got good hands. He's great after the catch. And we might be so far down the depth chart at this point that they might have to actually throw him out there. He was being called Little Debo in camp because he kind of is able to do all the things that Debo's doing, but he's just a little bit smaller than him, size-wise and height-wise. And then, just ride Jordan Mason. Ride the Jordan Mason wave. Because the one thing that never falters is the 49ers running backs feast on the Rams defense. Even when Aaron Donald was there, they feast on the Rams defense. On the Rams side, I like this kid named Jordan Whittington. I also like Demarcus Robinson. Their tight end, Colby Parkinson, is very interesting. By the way, these guys I'm saying right now, all flexes, all like your second flex. If you have one of these guys, put them in there. If you have more than one of these guys, don't do that. Just pick one that you like the best. I would say Demarcus Robinson. But you put Kyron in for sure because our defense has been shaky against the run. And then, I wouldn't mind Stafford too. Stafford is hit or miss. He's either going to throw 2 interceptions or he's going to throw 3 touchdowns. There's really no other way for Stafford to function. He's either going to absolutely wreck your day or he's going to make you look great. So I would play – but here's the kicker, Commish. I would play Stafford over Purdy.
Oh. Well, I kind of see where you're going there. I would, in this particular matchup, I see that's where I'm like, I see where you're going, but I do think you're going, even though you guys are hobbled, I feel like this is like that get right game for Brock Purdy, quite honestly. I feel like there's always those one where you're like, oh, this is why this guy was Mr. Irrelevant. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden he sparks back and has these great games. So I think this is, and again, these teams are very familiar with each other, as you're very familiar with. I think this will actually be a good back and forth, if you will, and it's going to be kind of the last man standing. Rams very desperate at this point, and they're also very hobbled as well. So we could just call this the Injured List Podcast Bowl coming up for this one, like that one. But I'm cheating. All right, let's go to the next matchup. The Lions at the Cardinals. This will be a fun one. Lions are 23rd against fantasy QBs, number 1 against running backs, 31st against receivers, 6th against tight ends. Cardinals are 30th against QBs, 9th against running backs, 24th against receivers, and 5th against tight ends. What say you guys? You like and don't like?
Game of the week right here. Love this game. Oh, yeah. This is a game where you want every piece of the action in this one. I want the Jamison Williams. I want the Amon-Ra St. Brown. Give me some Gibbs. Hell, if I got a second spot on my flex, give me a little David Montgomery too. Ooh-wee. And then Sam Laporta, like I said, to the fucking moon. I think this is his redemption game. On the Cardinals side, do I want some Marvin Harrison Jr.? You're damn straight I do. Do I want some Trey McBride? Ooh, can I get that with a little extra sugar on top? God damn, let's go. Does that thing come with whipped cream on it? Let's top this off. And then, of course, Kyler Murray. He is the cherry on top because I'll tell you what, this team is scary on offense and terrible on defense, which means we're going to see tons of points. I love it. I can't wait. This is going to be a good one.
As a fantasy manager, this is one where if you got somebody somewhere in here, you definitely want to get it in because you feel like it's just going to be that fantasy bonanza, as we like to talk about. At the end of the day, again, we're talking about desperation. This is almost like Redemption Sunday. I feel like we keep saying redemption. I feel like some of these guys really are about to have some big days. So I think we're in for a big fantasy point Sunday, kind of just feeling it. Because you know how those offenses, they've been struggling a little bit. It's been like the talk of the town where the passing offenses struggle. I just got this weird feeling that this weekend's going to be quite the opposite. We're going to see some high scoring matchups. So this is definitely going to be the main dish, if you will, as far as that goes. So anyone in this matchup is a definite start for me, except for the defenses where I think they might struggle a little bit in that one. All right, let's go Chiefs at the Falcons. Chiefs are 31st against QBs, 4th against running backs, 10th against receivers, dead last against tight ends. The Falcons are 27th against QBs, 5th against running backs. They are 9th against receivers and 22nd against tight ends. What say you guys you like and don't like in this one?
Okay, so I think this will be a closer game. If you have Mahomes, go with Mahomes. I do like the Falcons defense. I think that they kind of have a little bit of the formula that the Bengals defense had. And the Bengals defense, remember, took 2 interceptions from Patrick Mahomes this past game. So I think it could be a good week for them as far as that. They have a good every layer of the field, if that makes sense. Like they're good on defensive line, their linebackers are solid tacklers, and their backs, their secondary is probably where the gold is actually at because they got Jesse Bates back there, a true ball hawk, and you got A.J. Terrell to handle number one duties as the corner. As far as the Chiefs' offense goes, I like me some Rashee Rice. I don't know how you feel about Xavier Worthy. I love Xavier Worthy because I love that boom bust play in my flex. I think it's just such an interesting thing where he can go from like literally 2 points to like 25, and you're just like you're literally at the craps table. You're just like, all right, let's go. Woo! But and the running back, they got a new running back named Carson Steele. I think that he's not going to be the steal of the waiver wire this week. I think a lot of people are going to be disappointed with that one. That Falcons defense is actually, kind of stiff up front. And even though this guy has come with a lot of accolades from his undrafted free agency status, I don't think that he is going to be a man of steel this week. On the other side, you like that one?
That was good.
On the other one, I like B. John Robinson. How can you not? Dude's freaking on fire. And then I'm huge on Darnell Mooney right now, and I want to get your take on that one because Darnell Mooney. You talk about boom bust with Xavier Worthy.
Yeah,
he's a guy where I'm like, you just pick him up off the waiver wire and plug him in a lineup, and he might get you 15 to 19 points out of nowhere. But he seems to be fitting in real nice in this offense. Drake London seems like an automatic start at this point, just like B-Dron is. And then Kirk Cousins. I'm hit or miss with Kirk Cousins. I'm always hit or miss with Kirk Cousins because it's like the 1 week you put him in, he'll get you like 14 points. The 1 week you sit him, and you're like, no, you're you were a bad Kirk Cousins. He's like, oh, let me show you I can do good and get you 25. Oh, I don't know what to do with him other than just say, maybe just ride it out. Maybe just, if you have better options, put better options in.
Real quick from the Smitty, my bad. Are you starting Jawan Jennings? I mean, I could just speak for the Niner insider over here and say, yo, damn right we are. I mean, it just makes sense with with Debo being out. And our boy, Mr. Mallard, if you missed Sophistication Station, called him out as well. Basically, even prior to Debo going down, they were going to Jennings, especially in the red zone as well. So he's a great play in this matchup. We just talked about but prior it being one of those fantasy bonanzas going back and forth. So I think that's just an easy plug and play for Jawan Jennings this week. I think I'd put him at receiver 2 even above a flex play, I think, this week. All right, let's we got to get finished up. We got 2 Monday night games. Oh, let me comment. Oh, you one of my take real quick. Darnell Mooney and the same with Xavier Worthy. It's the same situation almost, I feel, with like those Texans receivers where it's that boom or bust type play. To be honest with you, I don't like the gamble, and because I like to just have points and be good and be safe and have my little and just lay there and not worry about this. And not worry and be biting my damn fingernails off worrying about this guy who's got nothing for me in the first half. But then, of course, as you mentioned, could all of a sudden the second half have like 30 freaking points. So, I like the more guy that I can rely on. But I do, of course, with like Darnell Mooney's the new high, kind of like, again, reminiscent of Rashid Shaheed, the same type of play. The new hot thing, but then, a little bit later on is, it starts to, you'll see a little bit more feed to Drake London as defenses start to switch things up and matchups and so on. So, I'm good on Darnell Mooney this week, because they're playing the Colts. Because they're playing the Colts. Because they're going to have to throw to get in this matchup with the Chiefs, because the Chiefs are going to be putting up points. So I like him this week, but I think long term, but I wanted to ask you this real quick, because we had 2 freaking Monday night games to talk about real quick. What do you think? Someone in my league dropped Justin Herbert for Darnell Mooney. What do you think about that?
Is it single QB league?
Single QB league, yes, sir.
I have no problem with it.
I love it. All right, let's go to this. B. Smitty says, I got Purdy as a QB. He's got Mason as RB. Jawan Jennings ain't the lie, man. That's a lot of Niners, boy. That's a lot of trust in those Niners. Justin's going to just say, do it, of course. All right, we're going to the lineup. So start 2. Jennings, London, Evans, Dell, JSN, and Whittington. Ooh, I love it. Hey, the Smitty, stay with us, because once we get these Monday night games, we got a little segment that we close the show with, and they talk about your boy Whittington, actually. So what do you think, Justin? Start 2 of these guys.
Oh, my God. You can only start 2? You can't start at least like 4 of them? Oh, man. I think the way I would put it is I would put Dell, Evans, JSN, Whittington, London, Jennings. I love my boy Jennings, but his upside is purely touchdown based. All these other motherfuckers can get, tons of receptions. I'm big. JSN just had 12 receptions last week. Don't know if that's going to replicate against Miami. It all depends on how the game goes and everything. But that's somebody to look out for. Dell, I have a feeling this is a Dell game, man. It just feels like a Dell game. And then, London to me is a little fishy, because Trent McDuffie is actually really good as the corner, and he tends to hang with the number 1s. So he's a little fishy to me. He came on real strong at the end, obviously, the last game. Evans, rock solid. Whittington and Jennings. That one's going to be so interesting, because we're going to find out if Whittington is for real or if it's really just been a hoax and it's just been to kind of put Demarcus Robinson in the back of our minds again, because I like what this kid did in preseason. I was following his camp. He was having a huge camp. So if I had to choose two, I would say Dell and I would say Evans. And if I had to say, because you probably have a flex. If you have a flex or two, I'd put JSN and Whittington in it, and I'd leave London on the bench. And you can count that as a soundbite when I mess that up. You play the dumbass song when I mess that up.
I like it. I'm in the Evans and Dell, and then it's like I don't know. It's between Jennings and JSN for me. Man, I just would probably go. He's okay. He says he's in a super flex 2 QB lead to kind of get a little more in depth in the lineup. But I'm going Evans and Dell. I think no doubt. I'm between Jennings and JSN for that flex spot, even though you're just starting to. But if you can get somebody in the other flex spot, I don't know how big your super flex is. I try to get Jennings in there, but I think Evans and Dell is a smart play for those two receivers. All right, let's finish things up with our last two matchups. Jags at Bills. Jags are 25th against QBs, 20th against running backs, 25th against receivers, 4th against tight ends. Bills 11th against QBs, 31st against running backs, 22nd against receivers, and 27th against tight ends. What do you say, guys? You like and don't like?
Oh, man. Josh Allen for sure. Trevor Lawrence, man, he trips me out. Because I'm like, where are you, man? Like, last week, this is another guy who never uses his talents. Last week, he had 56 yards on the ground off 2 carries. He's just like, dude, why aren't you doing this more often? You'd be in the red zone a lot more. I don't know where Jacksonville is. I think Jacksonville is just about to get rid of their coach. I think that's where they're at this point. But to answer the Schmitty's question, yes, I would definitely start Purdy and Stafford. I just don't like the defensive game it's the defensive chess that's going to be Tomlin versus Harbaugh, and that doesn't bode well for Fields' numbers. But yeah, back onto that. Trevor Lawrence, to me, it's one of those games where you kind of feel like, okay, maybe it can be a shootout, so maybe you put him in, but I don't know. He's getting real fucking fishy to me. ETN, I love him. James Cook, good play. Keon Coleman, I think they're going to need to start feeding him soon, so I would get ahead of it. He's a nice flex play. Khalil Shakir, another solid flex play if you have him. Dalton Kincaid. I'm starting to lose my patience on Dalton Kincaid. This will be the last week I put him in, and if he fucks up, I'm probably going to sit him next week. If he does not produce, I'm probably going to sit his ass next week. Yeah, that's right, Kincaid. That's right, Kincaid. I'm calling you out. But anyways, on the other side, Evan Ingram's not there, so I'm not putting Brenton Strange in. And then I'll probably go with Brian Thomas as my lock. Christian Kirk has, I think, like 4 points or something like that in the first 2 weeks. That's not good. Not good at all.
I will say, like I said, I'm not the guy that likes to toot my own horn, but if you were watching the summer tour, I told you there is no reason for this hype behind Christian Kirk. So I hope you were paying attention. Anyway, in this particular matchup, I agree with you. I think this is the Jaguars London tour, if you will, because quite frankly, it looks like it's about to blow this thing up again. So I like the Bills. Everyone, you start them, and I don't even like ETN. I think Bigsby was the better back, quite frankly, to be honest with you. So anyway, okay, so I wanted to chime in on this. Yeah, I absolutely agree. Okay, Willie Doo. Whoa, he said he had Tua. He says his backs are heel. I'm doing it. Heel. I'm messing the words again. Hall, Steele, Mason, Aaron Jones, Brandon Allen. Braylon. I'm sorry. Tyler Algier. Should I trade Rashad Bucky for a for AR5 Bigsby or get Fields or Geno off the waiver? What do you say?
I would just get Geno off the waiver. I don't think you really have to sell out on Rashad or Bucky for Anthony Richardson and Tank Bigsby. I would just get Geno off the waiver. It's the easiest thing for you to keep that nice team together.
Yeah, I agree. Keep that. Once you've got those monopoly pieces in place, bro, just keep that together as long as you can. I think especially for this week, you can grab Geno, and he's a good play. So I think, and then going forward, you can maybe stream a little bit. You got a great meat and potatoes of your lineup. So just keep it in. Is what I'd say. Let's thank you, Willie Doo. We appreciate you. RJ Simmons. He's in receiver hell. He wants to know Judy or Naylor.
Oh, man, you really are in freaking hell.
There's no one else.
Jesus, bro.
No, it's not a waiver wire. That's what I want to see. There's nobody else we can pick from. Damn.
I'll say this. If Jerry Jeudy makes it on the field this week, because I think he's got an injury he's playing with right now. So, yeah, if he makes it on the field this week, I'd probably go Jeudy. But, yeah, if not, bro, I'd start looking on the waiver wire.
I love it.
Jeez.
So he drafted AJ Brown. Okay, now it's me. I got you. We got you. Oh, damn, bro. I'm sorry to hear that. But, bro, they're going to be back soon. You're going to be on. That's even more encouraging looking at that lineup as you start to get down toward the end of the season. So I like this team. So keep streaming those QBs for a little bit. You never know what might pop up. And, and again, as you get a little more deeper, you can, prior to the waiver wire, you can see if you need to make that move. But I like the way it looks right now. And look thank you, RJ. We appreciate you. Look at Smitty says plot twist. He has the Niners defense. Bro, this is your team right here. Like, is this you putting this shit in here? Because it's got all Niners. He said, do you recommend another defense if I played the two QBs? He picked up the Green Bay defense. Yeah, I like that. I don't like any even though the Niners defense is great, I don't think it's a good play because of the familiarity the Rams have and Chong and Bay have with this Niners defense. So they're it's a little different, I guess, when you guys know each other. So like we talked about this game earlier, how it was going to be more of a fantasy friendly game, where that Green Bay Titans matchup we said was going to be a little more of a less fantasy day. So I like it. What do you say?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely go with a different defense on that one. Green Bay is not a bad option, especially if Anthony Richardson continues down the route he's going right now. If you have the Bucks out there, if you have freaking if you have Tennessee out there, some people still have the Titans defense out there. Not a bad option.
Yeah, not giving them a lot of shit. Bucks I've seen were picked up recently this week. Not a bad option this week against the Broncos as well. So there could be some other better options out there, but I think you're better with the Green Bay defense in that particular question. All right, let's finish things up with our last Monday night game. And I just want to say real quick, NFL, please quit doing this shit. I spend all day Sunday watching like all these screens, all this stuff. On Monday night, I just want to chill and watch one game. I don't want two. I think it's dumb. Anyway, Bengals at Commanders. Bengals against fantasy QBs are 6th, running back 17th, 7th against receivers, and 3rd against tight ends. Now let's talk about this Commanders defense. Dead last against QBs, dead last against receivers, 31st against tight ends, and 16th against running backs. I don't know if we need much fantasy analysis for this side of it. What do you say? What do you like in this one?
Jamar Chase to the moon game. He is going to absolutely obliterate this one. I think this is his get back game. A sneaky play could be Mike Gesicki as well. Mike Gesicki just had his career day last week against the Chiefs. Has obviously proven to be a nice fit with the Bengals. Outside of that, player Zach Moss's. Did Doc mention T. Higgins?
Yeah, he didn't, but T. Higgins is back. And so I was going to mention, I didn't want to counter you, but I was just going to say Gesicki might see a little bit of a downtick with T. Higgins back in the lineup. But either way, I think, Gesicki is still at least a good streaming option if Njoku's down, that type thing.
Definitely. Well, thank you for clearing that up. And then on the other side, the Manders. I can't trust Scary Terry anymore. I traded him.
Mm-hmm.
I traded Scary Terry because I was done with him. He was my last flex. I had a really nice team where he was my last flex spot, and I was just like, I can't deal with this anymore. I traded his ass so quickly because he has nothing gelling right now with Jaden Daniels. So my only play for them is Jaden motherfucking Daniels. Because outside of that, I can't trust another person. Actually, you know what? I take that back. Brian Robinson Jr.
Yeah, but no, because I feel like Jaden Daniels is right, but I think, Brian Robinson Jr., they're not going to find themselves in a position to be running the football and that type of thing. Might see some dump also a PPR option, but I think it's going to be more of, you'll see maybe Jaden Daniels running for his life. Quite frankly, the Bengals defense is really good. We saw that against the Chiefs. The Chiefs did put up points. It's the Chiefs, but the defense is really good. So I think, they'll have and obviously, as you mentioned, Joe Burrow, we'll talk a bit more on Sunday, so don't forget to wake up with us at 8 a.m. But he's going to be my DFS play of the week. Comes in at, a mid-tier bye. He's going to be a great play against this Commanders offense. It don't matter who plays as receiver. I think Joe Burrow is going to have a great day. T. Higgins is going to be back. Mike Gesicki, by the way, is questionable coming into this. So you got a little sign. I think it's minor. He still should play. And like I said, should still be plug and play for your tight end if you need it. So other than that, though, like I said, there's not much. I don't know if I would have traded Terry Scary because this offense might find its way at some point. But anyway, I wanted to thank all y'all for your comments tonight. Let's finish up with our last few questions. He's got one more for RJ. Appreciate you. Charbonnet or Derrick Henry, full PPR. Oh, my goodness. What do you think of this one?
I think I'm going to go with what Commissioner said. And I can't believe I missed him. But the commish is always classy, and he always puts in the correct stuff at the correct time. Derrick Henry is going to have an absolute savage game. I am all about Derrick Henry in this one.
I like Zach Charbonnet. You can't put his ass in the flex, man. Damn, bro. But yeah, Derrick Henry, I brought it up earlier. He's going to eat this weekend. I mean, listen, I don't get paid. I actually have to pay to watch football. And I know that the people that get paid to do it, I think will figure out that, hey, we paid all this money to bring this big running back in. Let's start giving him the football maybe. So, again, I think he's going to eat in this matchup. All Daniels does is run, and I have to. That is true, but that's why he's decent in fantasy at least. But yeah, this Smitty, appreciate that. Trey Staten, Cam Akers, Waddles, Higgins, or Jennings. So just one of these guys.
Yikes. If Cam Akers plays, maybe.
I think the question too, if it's PPR, non-PPR, because if it's PPR, personally, I'm probably going it's either Higgins or Jennings for me. We just talked about this Commanders offense is absolutely, defense is absolutely horrendous against receivers and against QB. So I like T. Higgins a lot, and the dogs like him as well. Greg Jennings too. We've talked all night about him. He's been on Sophistication Station already. So he says full PPR. Oh, my bad. You pulled that up, my bad. Yeah, so yeah, I would go with T. Higgins personally, I think. But I do like Jennings a lot too this week. So that would be my go. And I can't even believe I'm not even mentioning my boy Waddle. But I think the other two are better play. What do you say?
Yeah, I would still go with Akers, but I would definitely say that Jennings is a second and Higgins is third, and then Waddle's fourth. It sucks to say Waddle is fourth, but you really have to see what he's going to do with Skylar Thompson because also Seattle actually has a really good secondary too. So it kind of sucks on both ends where you're just like, Waddle might not get open. Obviously, Tyreek is always open because he's the cheetah, but, Waddle might not get open. He has those days where he just has rough ones.
Yeah, and it's like kind of like I didn't talk about it much. I know I got distracted, but it's kind of the same situation with the Chiefs running back situation because you tagged on it, people being disappointed. I kept just saying this is more of a wait and see like kind of situation. And same kind of with Waddle, if you can afford it, kind of wait and see what he's going to look like and what Skylar looks like in this offense. And the same with that running back situation. We don't know who's going to be the guy until they really start feeding it, start to get the snaps on Sunday. It's a kind of wait and see for me right now. Thank you, Trey. We appreciate you, my friend. Don't stick around though. We about to close out with our boy Chuck Bass playing the fantasy hits. We got a couple more real quick though. The Smitty said, "How you feel about Laporta?"
To the moon. He's gonna go off this week. I know it.
Yeah. So he wants to know Laporta or Goddard, and it's so funny. You just were talking about this. I just answer for you. He don't trust him. He don't trust him. He's just the guy he don't trust. But this week he's going to have a good game. But we both think Laporta is going to have a big bounce back this week. So I like that. I like Laporta over Goddard this week. And he said, "What's up with Whittington? Is he a stash?" Absolutely. What do you think?
For sure. Kupp is kind of like teetering between the IR. Puka just made it onto the IR. Yeah, Whittington is for sure a stash. He looked like a stud in the preseason. Obviously, that means nothing, but I'll say this: more times out of not, it's when you're a wide receiver playing well in the preseason, you might have something. So I'm looking at Whittington as a guy, and Stafford will make it happen with anybody. That's why I love Stafford. Stafford will literally make it happen with anybody. Nobody knew what Puka was until Stafford showed him what Puka was. So I think Whittington is not going to be like Puka or Kupp, but he's going to get that target share. So at some point, you're going to see this guy with like 14 targets on a box score, and you're going to go, "Ha! I'm glad I stashed him away. I'm glad that I was tuned in for TSS Fantasy, and they told me to stash him." I'm just kidding.
He probably, what was that show on YouTube that they just told me? Yeah, that's probably what it is. But Smitty, thank you, bro. We appreciate you. We appreciate all your
thank you so much.
Today. If you got more questions, wake up with us. Don't forget, 8 a.m. on Sunday, you can wake up with us. We got lots of good stuff, including Ariel comes on and gives you some money line bets. We got homegrown props. We even have, he's in the room, Fantasy Jesus he blesses those DFS lineups. All holy indeed. All right, we're going to close things out, of course, tonight. It's Friday night. Get your dancing shoes on. DJ Chuck Bass is going to play your fantasy hits.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Playing the Hits Week 3. I'm your boy, DJ Chuck Bass. It's Jukebox Week on Playing the Hits. We're going oldies only, a little Goldilocks in the 3 bears. We've got a mama bear, papa bear, and a baby bear. Long shots only. Wide receiver edition. Let's get to it. Up first is Deontay Johnson. Bryce Young out, Andy Dalton in, our mama bear. He's leading the team in targets and route participation. I don't think this team is going to be the greatest show on turf, but with Andy Dalton in there throwing to open windows only, I expect close to double-digit targets, maybe even a touchdown. Deontay Johnson back on the menu. Our Papa Bear, Juwan Jennings, tied for third on the team in targets, and that was before Debo was projected to miss time. He is a red zone option, and they're his go-to guy on third down, despite having Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle. This is the matchup to end all matchups against a Rams defense who is crossing illegal immigrants over the border just to start for their team. Fire him up. Lastly, our baby bear, Jordan Whittington, Rams wide receiver rookie sensation going up against the 49ers defense. Our baby bear, this is twofold. DeMarcus Robinson and Tyler Johnson are fine role players when coverages have to focus on Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. They don't have the juice when those two are in the caboose. Sean McVay is excellent at bringing rookies along. Jordan Whittington might be the only explosive player on the entire Rams roster at this moment. Fire him up. Garbage time in that game starts at kickoff. That's going to do it for this week. I'm your boy, DJ Chuck Bass. Play the hits.
said garbage time and that game starts at kickoff. That's probably the funniest thing I ever heard. A couple of quick ones real quick. Smitty said, I almost traded Ramondre for Josh Allen. Oh my goodness me. Oh my. Sebastian, appreciate this. He wants to know, should you trade Ridley for Dobbins for Ayuk?
No.
Yeah, a little too much there. I like Ridley and Dobbins right now, new hot thing. So I like that you said the owner back down. That would have been so nice. Yeah, but I agree with you, Justin. I don't think I'd trade that because Debo's going to come back as well. Ayuk, not to say that's going to make Ayuk useless, but he's not going to be enough for the points that you get from Ridley and Dobbins. So I think that's a no-go on that one. All right, guys. So we appreciate all your questions and comments. If you got some more, wake up with us 8 a.m. on Sunday morning. We'll have lots of good stuff for you, including our ultimate DFS lineups. Forgot to throw that in there as well. So make sure you check us out there. Hit subscribe, hit like, do all the other fun stuff. We appreciate you guys. We'll see you on Sunday, and we are out.